I leaned against the cold brick wall of Willow Creek Academy, the sun setting behind the tall pines that surrounded the campus. The orange and pink hues splashed across the sky clashed with the sour taste of betrayal lingering in my mouth. A gentle breeze swept through, ruffling my long dark hair and carrying with it the distant aroma of pine forests mingled with something reminiscent of freshly baked cookies from the cafeteria. Normally, that scent would be comforting, but not today. My heart raced, knowing I could no longer ignore the gnawing pain in my chest or the storm of emotions brewing within me. Hey, Clarissa, a familiar voice broke my reverie. I turned to see Jenna, my best friend, sauntering over. With her blonde curls bouncing and a bright smile plastered across her face, she looked as though nothing in the world could disturb her perfect bubble. I envied that about her. She was one of those people who seemed immune to the petty squabbles and brutal betrayals of high school life. Hey, Jenna, I replied, forcing a weak smile. I glanced away, fearing that if I saw her expression too closely, I might lose my composure. What's up? Just finished my chem lab. It was a nightmare, as usual, she laughed, stretching her arms as if shaking off invisible stress. I swear, if I mix one more beaker of sodium with potassium, I might explode. I chuckled softly, but my mind was still swirling with images of Danny and the talk I had overheard. Yeah, sounds intense, I said, trying to sound interested. The laughter of other students echoed around us, laughter I was strangely detached from. Are you okay? You seem kind of distracted. Jenna studied me intently, her blue eyes narrowing in concern. Just a lot on my mind, I replied. The shadow of doubt crept in as I thought about Danny sitting with his arm around Rebecca, my former best friend, as they giggled over their shared lunch. I could still hear their whispers, sweet and soft like poison spilling from their lips. I had trusted them, both of them. Nothing I can't handle. Jenna raised an eyebrow and leaned closer. You sure about that? Because you know I am always here for you, right? Yeah, I know. I inhaled deeply, attempting to shake off the heaviness. Though the wind carried whispers of adventure through the air, all I could think about was vengeance. I don't want to talk about it. All right, but just know I'm here, she said, putting her hand on my shoulder. The warmth of her palm soothed my bubbling rage, if only a little. Maybe all this would pass. Maybe I could forget Danny's smile. I guess we should head to study hall soon, I said, inching away from the topic, but already dreading the heavy atmosphere of the classroom. The fluorescent lights always felt too harsh against my skin. I have to finish that history project anyways. Ugh, don't remind me, she groaned dramatically. I still have to read about the French Revolution. Can you believe I put that off until the last minute? I am such a slacker. Better hurry then, I teased, nudging her playfully. You know how Mr. Carter gets when papers are late. Before Jenna could respond, a booming laugh echoed nearby, cutting through the air like a knife. I turned my gaze instinctively, tension tightening my throat as I spotted Danny and Rebecca across the courtyard. To anyone else, they seemed like the perfect pair, both effortlessly attractive with their designer clothes and radiant smiles. My heart twisted painfully. Each laugh felt like an accusation. Can you believe she actually thought she could take me in soccer? I mean, please, Danny chuckled, throwing his head back as the others joined in the laughter. I felt a rush of heat as Rebecca leaned into him, brushing her fingers along his arm as she played along with the joke. It was a game to them. My emotions were a playground, scattered and discarded. Oh my God, she really thought she was going to score, Rebecca cooed, her laughter mingling with his, a sweet melody that turned my stomach. Can they just be happy while I exist? I whispered under my breath, the words heavy as lead. Jenna turned to look at me with an expectant expression. Who? She asked, glancing in the direction of the laughter. Just people, I muttered, using my best effort to mask the rising bitterness in my voice. Clarissa, you need to talk about this. Jenna's voice was firm now. It's not good to bottle up your feelings. You know that, right? I bit my lip, torn between the desire to confide in her and the fear of being judged. When had I become someone who needed to talk about feelings? I had always been independent, resilient. It's just, they are practically flaunting it, you know? Like who even does that? Jenna raised her eyebrows. Clearly my answer was not going to be enough to satisfy her curiosity. I mean, it is hard to see. She glanced over at Danny and Rebecca, frowning. But do you really think it's on purpose? I don't know, but it feels like they are doing it just to hurt me, I replied bitterly. They both promised they would be there for me. And then this happens, it felt like being stabbed in the gut with a rusty blade. Jenna's expression softened, her lips pressing together in thought. Maybe it's not as bad as it seems, they could just be happy, I interrupted, anger bubbling out. I watched them turn against me. It hurts, Jenna. I thought friendships meant something. I stood by him through everything. And now he's walking down a path of betrayal without looking back. Look, I'm not trying to make excuses for them, Jenna said, stepping even closer. She crossed her arms defensively. But you have to think about what you want too. What I want. I asked, my voice dripping with skepticism. What I want them to know how much they've hurt me. I want to make them feel this pain. Clarissa, no. Jenna's voice was sharp, almost pleading. You can't let this consume you. Revenge won't change anything. You will end up digging a deeper hole for yourself, and what options do I have? The frustration broke free, my heart pounding so loudly I was surprised Jenna couldn't hear it. I can't just sit quietly while they play house. Should I just smile and wave, pretend like I don't care? I mean, there are other ways, she suggested cautiously. What if you just focus on yourself, build up your own interests, something to distract you? Distract me? Is that what you think I need right now? Some knitting club or pottery class? The sarcasm dripped from my words, the venom of betrayal spilling into every syllable. I don't want to just cope, I want them to understand the damage they've caused. Then tell them, Jenna said, her tone pleading, her eyes darting between mine as if she was searching for conviction. Be honest with them about how you feel. I scoffed loudly, the bitterness thickening in my throat. Do you really think they care? They are having the time of their lives without me? I know it feels like that, but maybe you are giving them too much power, she said, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. What if you just live your life, find something that makes you happy without seeking their approval? You know you deserve better than that. I sighed as I pulled away, the last bit of sunshine slipping behind the horizon, casting shadows across the courtyard. Jenna's face fell and the stillness between us grew heavy. It is not that simple, I finally murmured. I can't just act like they didn't destroy everything we had. Maybe it's less about revenge and more about reclaiming your space, she said softly. Reclaim? I echoed, bitterness tinging my voice. Like, what am I supposed to do? Just act like they didn't betray me, like everything's okay? Try to channel it into something productive, Jenna suggested. You are still you outside of them, you know that, right? What I know is they took something from me, I snapped, impatience flaring again. And I need to correct it. How can I just pretend? Just think it through? Think, always think, I burst, feeling the words flow out without filter. Do you know what happens when you think you become a victim? You let people walk all over you. That's when I caught the flash of movement out of the corner of my eye, and my heart dropped further. Danny and Rebecca had made their way over, laughter still clinging to them, oblivious to the tension on my face. The way Danny leaned into Rebecca, his eyes sparkling with joy, made my stomach churn. I felt exposed, like they could see through the mask I had been trying to wear. Hey, Clarissa, he said, casual and carefree. Meanwhile, my breath hitched as I turned to Jenna, who looked equally caught off guard. Nice day, huh? He continued, his tone so light it felt mocking. I could hear Rebecca giggling softly beside him. Yeah, I replied, forcing out the most mundane answer I could muster. I wanted to say so much more, to let my anger erupt like a volcano, but the words fell flat, dying in my throat. What are you guys up to? Rebecca asked, her voice dripping with sweetness that felt entirely wrong. Just talking, Jenna replied, her friendliness shimmering like a mirage in a desert. Cool, Danny said, turning his smile on me, the same smile that used to make my heart race. You doing okay, Clarissa? You look a little pale. Fine, I replied tightly, summoning all my strength to keep my voice steady. Every word tasted like ash, like betrayal and sorrow all rolled into one sour ball. Sure you are. Danny's voice dropped its cheerful tone, becoming mock serious. You know we're here if you need to talk. You're still one of us. Right, I practically sneered, feeling a power rise inside me mixed with indignation. Just don't worry about me. Rebecca stepped closer, her smile not reaching her eyes. You'll always be included, Clarissa, just like old times. Old times, that phrase flashed through my mind like a neon sign, and then I remembered all the laughter we once shared, all the moments when I thought I could rely on them. I could feel the anger bubbling just beneath the surface, the urge to shout for them to remember how much they hurt me. Sure, I said firmly, despite the storm brewing within. Right. We should hang out soon, Danny said, his voice bringing me back to the surface, but the words felt like daggers in my heart. Absolutely, Jenna jumped in, offering hope that made my gut twist, but I could feel everything inside me bristle and twist like a coil ready to snap. I forced myself to nod, to smile, though the emotions roared like a feral beast inside. Good, Danny clapped his hands together. We can, like, go to the lake or something. That would be fun. Rebecca nodded enthusiastically. We should totally do that, just like last summer. Sounds great, I said with gritted teeth, my heart pounding in rhythm to the fury simmering within. As they glided away, their laughter trailing, I squeezed my eyes shut, inhaling deeply to steady my heart. I stayed silent, fighting the wave of emotions crashing over me, the anger and hurt threatening to drown me if I let them. Why was I surrendering to those feelings? Why was I letting them enjoy their game at my expense? Really adjust your mindset, okay? Jenna said gently after they left the courtyard. You have more power than you think. I looked at her, trying to find some semblance of understanding. Maybe you are right. Maybe I should just focus on you, she encouraged. Half the battle is knowing what you want. Let's think of a plan. Plan, I said, cherishing the familiar sensation of stirring resolve within me. I think it may be time for a new approach. A smile tugged at my lips, a spark ignited within me, unveiling a truth so sweet that I could almost taste it. I won't let them tear me apart. I'll show them what really happens. Clarissa, Jenna's voice trailed off, warning notes lingering like shadows as realization flickered in her blue eyes. No, you don't understand, I said, the words flowing steady now. I'm not going to just let it go. I'm tired of being the one everyone walks over. Just nothing, I interrupted, feeling the storm within settle into focus. I know what I must do. Jenna opened her mouth to respond, but the determined look in my eyes must have silenced her. Let me do this, Jenna. They've hurt me, and I refuse to let that go. I will make them understand exactly what it feels like. The air thickened with tension as I stepped forward, absorbing the glow of the sunset as it faded behind the trees. My heart finally calmed, replaced by something fierce, burning with purpose. I will unleash my own form of power, and they will regret ever crossing me. Another moment of silence passed between us, filled with anticipation as I gazed back over my shoulder toward where Danny and Rebecca had disappeared, the thrill of what was to come sending shivers down my spine. This would be my climax. I would not be a victim anymore. I would become the storm I stood in front of my locker, my fingers brushing against the cool metal as I prepared to face the day ahead. It was eerie how quiet the hallway felt, the echo of footsteps muffled by the light gray carpet. I could still feel the rush of anger coursing through my veins from yesterday, the betrayal gnawing at me like a relentless little creature. My mind drifted back to the moment I found out what Hadley had done, the betrayal hitting me like a hammer striking glass. The laughter swirling around me now felt like a cruel joke, every student bustling by unaware of the storm brewing inside me. Hadley Carter, once my best friend, had turned the entire school against me. I could barely comprehend how someone I trusted so deeply could orchestrate something so malicious. My breath hitched as I recalled her words, dripping with feigned sweetness. Oh, you know how people love a little drama, Clarissa. You'll just have to deal with it. As I pulled a notebook from my locker, I heard a familiar voice behind me. Clarissa, are you okay? It was Mia, my other friend, her face painted with genuine concern. Her dark curls bounced slightly with every word, colors of the autumn leaves dancing in her hair. She stepped closer, her brow furrowed as if trying to piece together the shattered parts of my expression. Yeah, I'm fine, I replied, forcing the words through gritted teeth. Mia didn't seem convinced. You look like you could use a little sunshine. Want to go grab some coffee before class? I hesitated. Coffee sounded good, but I didn't feel worthy of those small moments of joy. I shook my head, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. I think I just need to focus on classes today. Her lips twisted in disappointment. You know you can talk to me about it, right? I'm here for you. I appreciate that, Mia, really? I wanted to scream, to unleash a flood of emotions and fears pent up inside me, but I contained it. The last thing I needed was for Hadley to think she had got to me. But I'm honestly okay. Okay, if you say so, Mia replied, her voice trailing off as she eyed me carefully. But just remember, I'm always a phone call away. I nodded, grateful for her loyalty, even as a part of me wanted to protect her from the chaos that was swirling around me. As she walked away, I glanced toward the main doors of the academy, staring out at the wet concrete outside that mirrored my rainy mood. The smell of damp leaves and the faint scent of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air from the school's cafe, just a few steps away, and I craved the warmth of laughter and friendlier company. What I really wanted, though, was to put Hadley in her place. Classes dragged on, each one a reminder of the betrayal lurking in the shadows. Whenever Hadley entered the room, an uneasy hush fell over my classmates, glances exchanged like whispers of a secret. The way they looked at me, judging and whispering, made me feel like a criminal rather than the victim. I tried to focus on Mr. Carrington's lesson about Shakespeare, but every time I turned a page, I felt sickened by the thought of people talking about me behind my back. My mind spun with images of Hadley, the way she smirked in the cafeteria as she plotted my demise like a skilled puppeteer. At lunchtime, I found a small table in the corner of the cafeteria, away from the prying eyes and malicious gossip. I could hear them, the giggles, the whispers. They cut through the supportive chatter of people who genuinely cared. I tried to keep my head down, but as I stirred my salad with a plastic fork, I overheard snippets of conversation that made my blood boil. Did you hear what Hadley said about Clarissa? Came a voice from a nearby table, one I recognized as Claire's, a junior who had always trailed behind Hadley like a faithful puppy. Yeah, like how she totally ditched her during the soccer game or something. Another voice chimed in, layered with judgment. Haven't you seen the way she dresses now? She's just trying too hard, Claire added with a laugh, the group erupting in giggles. My heart raced with fury, and before I knew it, I was on my feet. My heart hammered in my chest as I approached their table, the chatter around me fading into a dull roar. You don't even know what happened, I said, my voice a mix of confidence and hesitation. Claire looked up at me, surprise flitting across her face, quickly masked with disdain. Oh, look who it is, the topic of our discussion? Her tone dripped with sarcasm, and I clenched my fists. I planted my hands on the table, leaning over them slightly. Do you think it's funny to giggle behind someone's back? You should be ashamed of yourselves, I retorted, feeling the heat rise to my cheeks. Oh, please, like we are worried about what you think. You used to be popular, but the moment you turned your back on Hadley, you became nothing? Claire shot back, casting a disdainful glance at her friends who giggled as they rallied behind her. Watching you try to be relevant again is really sad, Clarissa. Another girl chimed in, her eyes flashing with mock pity. I felt my throat tighten, but one look at their smirks made me remember Hadley's face, the betrayal of a friend turning into a public spectacle. This isn't over, I said through gritted teeth, turning on my heel and striding away, angry at myself for letting them get to me. But as I walked away, something inside me shifted. If I wanted to reclaim my narrative, I had to use their cruelty to fuel my fire. Their laughter faded behind me, but it stoked the embers of rage simmering within. Hadley thought she could destroy me like this, but she had only lit the fuse. After school, I trudged my way to the front steps of Willow Creek Academy, my thoughts swirling like the damp leaves caught up in the wind. The scent of rain was thick in the air, the skies a heavy blanket of gray that echoed the turmoil within me. I needed a plan. The idea took root like a seed, and as I stared at the gray horizon, it blossomed into something darker, something I was willing to embrace because I had nothing left to lose. Clarissa, wait up. I turned, surprised to see Mia racing after me, her backpack bouncing against her shoulder. I thought you might need a ride home. Thanks, Mia, but I really just want to be alone for a bit, I said softly, guilt clawing at my insides. Mia frowned slightly, her brows knitting together with concern. Clarissa, you can't keep avoiding everyone like this. We're all worried about you. I know, but I just need to figure things out. Mia stepped closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Fine, but remember that Hadley won't just disappear. You have to stand up to her, or it's going to keep eating at you. I nodded, the truth of her words drawing tighter around me like a noose. I know and I will, I promised, yet deep inside me, the words began transforming into a plan as I walked away. That night, the rain drummed against my window pane, creating a rhythm that slowly eased my mind, my heart settling into the beat. I sat curled up on my bed, the glow of my desk lamp illuminating the scattered papers strewn across the floor, remnants of my thoughts twisted up in chaos and confusion. I could feel my mind racing, imagining how I could turn the tables on Hadley without losing myself in the process. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through my contacts until I landed on Jessica's name, another girl who had been wronged by Hadley in the past. I knew she would understand where I was coming from. With a deep breath, I hit dial. Hey, Jessica, it's Clarissa, I said when she answered, keeping my tone upbeat despite the heaviness in my heart. Clarissa, what's up? She replied, her voice friendly, a hint of confusion lingered. Do you remember that time Hadley embarrassed you during the dance? Of course I do, do not remind me. I think it's time we got some revenge, I said, feeling the wicked thrill rise in my chest when she chuckled. But what do you have in mind? I felt a smile creep across my face, shape emerging from my anger. The plan began to unfold as we talked and my resolve solidified. This wasn't just about retaliation. This was about showing Hadley that she could not dictate my life, that I could write my story instead of her. As I hung up, excitement thrummed through my veins, coiling tighter with every moment. This was only the beginning. I would weave a tale that would shake Willow Creek Academy to its core. With each calculated step, I would strip the layers of Hadley's deception away, revealing the truth behind her lies. This was my turning point, and I was ready to embrace the storm. The faint sound of my heart pounding in my chest seemed to echo through the empty halls of Willow Creek Academy as I made my way to the student lounge. My hands were clammy, and I wiped them against my ripped jeans, feeling the cool fabric beneath me. It had only been a couple of days since I had made the decision to finally take action against Jordan Matthews. The humiliation I had endured, the pain of being kicked out of the cheer squad, and the bitter taste of betrayal simmered in my gut like a relentless fire. I could not just let it go. I needed everyone to know who he really was. As I turned the corner, the chatter of students filled the air, light and carefree, their laughter prickling at my nerves. Yet, amidst the jovial noise, I felt like an outsider observing a scene I no longer belonged to. I could hear snippets of conversation mixing with the sound of sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. Did you hear about the party this weekend? One girl gasped. I can't believe Jenna kissed Mark. That is so scandalous. I sighed deeply, feeling the weight of their innocent gossip. Just 2 weeks ago, I would have been part of those conversations, laughing and sharing silly secrets. Now, I was a woman on a mission, and suspicions of my intentions surrounded me like a dense fog. They had no idea that beneath my calm exterior lay a carefully crafted plan to expose Jordan for who he truly was, a coward hiding in the shadows of popularity. I pushed the door to the lounge open and was met by a wave of familiar faces. Sarah, my former best friend, was seated at a table with a group of popular girls, their heads bent close together, whispering and giggling. The sight of her sent an icy stab of betrayal through me. Clarissa, Sarah called, looking up and forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Come join us? The urge to refuse her invitation burned fiercely in my chest, but I forced myself to reply, sure. I took a seat, feeling the weight of their gazes upon me. I could sense the curiosity brimming just beneath the surface. They all wanted to know what I had been up to since my disgrace. Wow, it's been a while since we've seen you around, Sarah said, running her fingers through her glossy hair, a gesture I remembered all too well. You know, with you leaving the team and everything. I bit my lip, stifling the urge to scream. Instead, I played it cool. Yeah, well, things change. Do you think you'll try out for next year's squad? Another girl chimed in, her voice dripping with false concern. I met her gaze, and what I saw reflected back was not sympathy, but a sharp, gleeful curiosity as if they were dying to see me squirm. That is none of your business. The words escaped my mouth before I could stop them. The moment they were out, my chest tightened with alarm. The laughter ceased for a split second, and I could feel their eyes widen in surprise before their laughter erupted again. She's back with the sass, guys, Sarah said, nudging her friend beside her. Just kidding, Clarissa, Sarah added, her tone disingenuous. Everyone is just worried about you. I could feel my heart racing as the familiar warmth of anger crept in. They were worried about me? Really? I wanted to scream that I didn't need their concern, that I had bigger fish to fry. I turned my gaze to the window, trying to breathe in the fresh air, feeling the weight of their insincerity like a heavy blanket. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I fished it out, glancing at the screen. A notification from Ethan, the one person who had stood by me despite the backlash from the squad. Meet me at the library. I have to talk to you about the plan. I swallowed hard, my heart racing with a new blend of excitement and fear. Who is that? Sarah leaned over my shoulder, her nose almost touching my screen, intrusive and demanding. It's nobody, I snapped, quickly locking my phone. Attention surged through the air, and I could feel the eyes of the girls boring into me, filled with curiosity and judgment. I need to go. Bailing on us already? Someone called out, laughter following my abrupt departure. I shook my head, refusing to acknowledge any further flickers of embarrassment as I pushed through the swinging door, leaving their mocking laughter behind. As I walked towards the library, I felt a surge of determination. I could do this, I would do this. I would expose Jordan for who he really was, and it would not only change my circumstances, it would shift the power dynamics at Willow Creek. Entering the library, the scent of old books and polished wood welcomed me like a quiet embrace. The library was one of my favorite places. Its hushed atmosphere was a stark contrast to the chaos of the lounge. I spotted Ethan sitting in our usual corner, his fingers dancing over the keyboard of his laptop. His dark hair fell slightly over his brow, and his glasses slipped down his nose as he focused on the screen. Hey, I said softly as I approached. Hey, you made it. He smiled, glancing up to meet my gaze, his expression shifting from concentration to concern. You all right? You look tense in there. Just the usual, I replied, taking a seat across from him. I'm fine. Ethan narrowed his eyes, clearly unconvinced. You know, I can tell when you're lying. What's really going on? It's just. It's complicated, I admitted, swiping a hand through my hair. Sarah and the other girls were all over me today. It's like they can smell the blood in the water. I barely stayed in the room. Forget about them. We have bigger things to focus on. His tone shifted, becoming serious. I started gathering evidence against Jordan. A chill raced down my spine. What do you mean? I went through his social media, and it's filled with red flags. He posts these photos of him getting drunk at parties and, well, he's really not the nice guy he pretends to be. Do you really think that will matter? He's built this perfect image, I said, frustration spilling out of my voice. People only see what they want to see. True, but we can expose the truth. I also heard from a few people that he's been spreading rumors about you. He's telling everyone that you were kicked off the team because you couldn't handle it. I felt the heat rise in my face, anger mixing with shame. That jerk. Thinks he can just control the narrative like that? Ethan nodded. Exactly, but we can twist that around. You need to capture his lies, color it with your truth. How? I leaned forward, my heart pulsing with excitement. What's the plan? We need to gather specific evidence, things we can present to everyone at school. He has to face the consequences of his actions. We'll show them who he really is. He pulled out his phone and opened an app, revealing a collage of screenshots from Jordan's posts. Look at this one, he pointed. He posted a snap of himself bragging about getting into a fight last month. It shows him being violent and reckless. We can use this for our argument. I leaned in closer, studying the screen, a knot of determination building in my chest. So, we just show this to people, and what? They're just supposed to believe us? There's more, Ethan said. I have contacts in the school, people who are also fed up with his act. We could organize a small assembly where you could lay everything bare. An assembly? I asked, my heartbeat quickening at the idea. I don't think I can stand in front of everyone and just You can, Clarissa. This isn't just about you, it's about everyone he's hurt. This is for your voice and their voices too. He reached out for my hand, squeezing it gently. You are stronger than him. As I looked into Ethan's eyes, the pressure in my chest lifted, and I finally saw a glimmer of hope. His belief in me ignited a strength I didn't know I possessed. Okay, let's do this. Let's show everyone the real Jordan Matthews. Good, Ethan responded with a wide grin. Let's get started tonight. We'll work until we have everything we need. I nodded, determination flooding my veins as we dove into our plan. As we searched through Jordan's online presence and drafted the speech I would give, I could feel the tide changing. My heart raced with the thrill of the pursuit, the intoxicating rush of revenge entwined with purpose. And for the first time in a long time, I felt alive. With each passing hour, the adrenaline coursed through my veins. This was not just about getting back at Jordan. It was about reclaiming my narrative, standing tall against the tide of lies, and finally, breaking free from the constraints that had held me captive for too long. I could see the end of the tunnel, and it was brighter than I had ever imagined. Together, I whispered, looking at Ethan with a newfound sense of excitement and hope. Together, he echoed with certainty. And at that moment, I knew my revenge would be my strength, and Jordan's downfall would be my resurrection. The freezing air of November wrapped around me like a shroud as I stood in front of Willow Creek Academy, my breath rising in white puffs that hung in the air for a moment before vanishing. The sun had lowered, dripping golden light across the weathered bricks of the school. Today was the day I confronted the people who had turned my life into chaos. Inside, the hallways carried the sounds of a typical school day. The laughter of students mingled with the sound of hurried footsteps echoing off the walls. I could feel my heart thumping in my chest, a wild rhythm that made it difficult to focus. As I walked through the double doors, determination surged through me, pushing me forward. This was my moment. Clarissa, a voice called from behind me. I turned to find Lisa, my best friend, hurrying to catch up, her dark curls bouncing with each step. Are you sure you want to do this? I mean, what if they don't even show up? I stopped, swirling the emotion inside me like a storm. They will show up, Lisa. They can't resist a spectacle. Besides, I need them to understand how what they did affected me. Lisa dimmed her playful energy, concern etching her features. But is revenge really the answer? Does it even make things better? I felt a jolt of frustration. Maybe not, but they need to see the consequences of their actions. I can't let them get away with this. The thought of their faces as they watched my life fall apart was almost euphoric. The clanging of the school bell echoed through the corridors, and students spilled out of classrooms around us, some laughing, others rushing to their next classes. I pushed through the tide of bodies with Lisa at my side, her presence a fragile support. Every step felt heavy under the weight of my resolve. When we reached the cafeteria, the familiar scent of fries and chocolate milk wafted toward me, unexpected and jarring. But I didn't come for lunch, I came for them. They were huddled at their usual table, the popular kids, who had cast me into the shadows of my own life. There they were, Mia, the queen bee with her sharp laugh and sharper tongue, Ryan, all swagger and smirk, the ringleader of their little circus, and Jason, the idiot who thought his jokes somehow made him charming. I stood at the entrance, my heart pounding louder. This is it, I muttered to Lisa, but my voice trembled like the last leaf clinging to a branch before winter claimed it. Clarissa, wait, Lisa started, but I pressed on before I could waver. Hey, I yelled, the words slicing through the air like a knife. They turned to look at me, something akin to surprise flickering across their faces. They had probably assumed I would remain the invisible girl, the one in the back of class who never spoke out. What do you want, loser? Mia sneered, her gaze dismissive. She tossed her hair over her shoulder as if that small gesture could wash away the sin of her actions. I took a deep breath, the adrenaline twisting my stomach into knots. I want to talk. Ryan arched an eyebrow, an amused grin spreading across his face. Ooh, sounds serious. Someone call the press? Shut up, Ryan. I hated him more than the others, delighting in his cruelty like a cat playing with a mouse before delivering the final blow. Make me? His arrogance clawed at my composure. I tightened my hands into fists, the nails digging into my palms. I said I want to talk, as in I will not leave until you hear me out, I declared, my voice steady despite the chaos roiling within me. They shared glances, an unspoken conversation passing between them. Jason finally shrugged, leaning back in his seat, legs crossed lazily. You've got 2 minutes, Clarissa, impress us. Make it good, Ryan added, an ugly smirk etching deeper across his face. Is this a joke? Mia asked, her eyes glinting with irritation. You think you can just stroll in here and demand attention? You have no idea who you are dealing with. I ignored the taunts, my heart racing like a wild horse. You have no idea what you did to me. You think it was all a game? Laughing behind my back, spreading rumors? I'm not a punchline. Mia laughed, legs dangling over the edge of her chair as they swung idly. Honey, you've been the joke since day one. You think we bullied you? Welcome to high school? My face burned, fury coursing through my veins. You don't understand not just what you did to me, but what it has cost me. Jason leaned in, a curious smile on his lips. And what's that? Enlighten us, O wise one. I took another shaky breath, gathering my thoughts like shards of glass. I lost friends over the stuff you spread. I lost my ability to trust people. I became a shell of who I used to be, a girl who loved writing and dreaming, and now I just feel empty. Do you realize how damaging your actions can be? The table fell silent, the weight of my words sinking into the air. For a fleeting moment, I thought I saw a flicker of guilt in their eyes, but it vanished quickly, almost like a mirage. Cry me a river, Clarissa, Ryan said, his facade of amusement faltering but not fully crumbling. You're telling us some sad story, but it doesn't change the fact that you are, well, you? I bristled at his words, each syllable like ice breaking open old wounds. I'm not just anyone. In case you haven't noticed, I am a person. I am a girl with dreams, but the way you treated me, it almost forced me to give up on those dreams. Mia snorted. Give up then, you're better off. You'll never be one of us, and that's the truth. Maybe I don't want to be part of your twisted little circle, I shot back, my voice sharper now, but that doesn't mean you can just destroy my self-worth. Jason shifted in his seat, a bit of uncertainty flickering across his face. It was almost like he was thinking about it. Come on, we were just having fun. People talk trash all the time, it's part of life. I wanted to scream at him, to shake him and force him to see the damage they had done. It's not fun when it becomes obsessive. It's not just part of life. Not when it gets to the point where you ruin someone's reputation, where you isolate them. Mia rolled her eyes again, but this time it was mixed with something else. Irritation had dulled her sharp edges, and perhaps she could understand, even if just a little. So what? You want us to feel guilty? That's not going to happen. Maybe not, I admitted, my resolve faltering just a touch, but I want you to know. I won't let you walk away thinking that everything you did was okay. I'm creating a life for myself now, one where I won't be pushed around. You think it's funny, because I can promise you? I took a step forward, feeling like a soldier at the edge of a battlefield. You'll regret ever crossing me. Laughter burst forth from Ryan and Jason, filling the cafeteria like poison. Look at her, she's trying to act tough, Ryan cackled. I stood tall, refusing to let their mockery break me. The adrenaline pumping through me felt electric, igniting my senses with each second I faced them. I knew I must fight to keep my ground, my voice steady as I spoke as if the universe itself penned my resolution. I don't care what you think. This isn't even about you anymore. This is for me, to reclaim what you tried to take. And with that, I turned on my heel, crossing the cafeteria and leaving behind the echoes of their laughter like a battered shield. The stark fluorescent lights buzzed above, and my chest rose and fell as I stepped outside, the cool air biting as if I had burst through the flames of a fire. Clarissa, Lisa called, already outside, waiting for me on the concrete steps. How did it go? I did not answer immediately. Instead, I leaned against the railing and let the chill settle over me, wrapping my thoughts like a thick blanket. I think I said what I needed to say, I finally replied, my voice calmer now, despite the storm still brewing inside. Did they listen? She pressed, concern swirling in her eyes. They laughed, but that didn't matter. They know I'm not going to lay down any longer. I'm stronger than their words, and I'm done being silenced by fear. Lisa's expression softened, a gentle positivity flooding her features. I'm proud of you, Clarissa. You stood up for yourself. I had to. No one else was going to do it for me, I murmured, staring out over the quietly bustling school grounds, where kids were spread out like petals of a flower slowly awakening from reverberations of winter. Maybe you can start something, Lisa suggested tentatively. Like a club, a safe space for people affected by bullying. You could help others find their voices too. I tilted my head as the idea took root in my mind, its potential unfurling like a delicate leaf stretching toward the sun. You really think so? Absolutely. You're not just another victim, Clarissa. You're on a journey to find your strength. You could inspire others. Looking at her, I felt a swell of emotion, and for the first time in a long time, I could see a glimpse of hope flickering before me. I think I might just do that. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting shadows that danced across the pavement, and as I stood there, contemplating the new possibilities, I realized that revenge might not solely be about hurting those who hurt me. Perhaps it was also about rebuilding, finding strength, and lifting others in the process, merely by showing them that they, too, could rise from the ashes that others had tried to bury them in. As we walked away from the school, I felt the weight of uncertainty drop away, replaced by a burgeoning sense of direction. I was no longer just Clarissa Rain, the girl who was bullied. I would be the girl who fought back and, more importantly, the one who would help others learn to do the same. As I stepped onto the expansive grounds of Willow Creek Academy, a cool autumn breeze rustled the leaves above me, their vibrant oranges and yellows dancing against the sky. It was a beautiful day, perhaps the kind of day that could wash away the bitterness I had been holding onto for so long. But no, I firmly shook that thought away. I had waited too long for this moment. No autumn sunlight could soften the ice in my veins or erase the memories of betrayal that haunted me like ghosts. Today was about finality. Today was about revenge. I made my way across the quad, where laughter echoed from a group of students huddled around a picnic table, tossing around jokes and snippets of gossip. My heart raced, but not out of fear or trepidation. It raced with exhilaration. I felt powerful, electric, alight with anticipation. Just ahead, I spotted the towering figure of Derek Malvo, the boy who had broken my heart. His back turned to me as he leaned against the wall of the gym, flirting with Emma, the same girl who had smiled sweetly at me in the hall and later stabbed me in the back. Look at her, acting all innocent, I muttered under my breath, clenching my fists. Memories flooded back of the day Derek had humiliated me in front of everyone, exposing my feelings for him like a dirty secret. I could almost see the smirk on his face, the way he had laughed while I crumbled. I could not let it end like that. I would not let it end like that. Just then, a voice pierced through my thoughts. Yo, Clarissa? It was Sam, my loyal friend, with his messy hair and perpetual grin that always managed to brighten my darkest days. You ready to do this? I turned to him, suddenly aware of the swirling energy in the air around us. More than ready. Let's put an end to this. Remember the plan, he said, his eyes glinting with mischief. No turning back. We bait Derek and then, well, you know the rest. I cracked the faintest smile, recalling our discussions late into the night, plotting and scheming, drowning in our shared passion for justice. I won't back down. It's time to show them what they've done to me. Sam nodded, his grin widening, the tension between us heightened with unsaid words. We had always been close, but now a bond forged in betrayal made us tighter. Each of us carried scars that life had etched into our souls. Let's do it. With Sam by my side, I approached the courtyard, the scent of baked goods wafting from the cafeteria tempting our senses. I could hear Derek's laughter now, a jarring reminder of the good times that had become twisted and corrupted. How easily charm had turned to cruelty. They were both oblivious, lost in their own little world. My pulse quickened, and though fear whispered at the back of my mind, the fire of revenge shouted louder. Sam, I whispered, let's do it right. So we split up, the plan evolving in the split second between us. I casually lurked behind a group of freshmen, watching Derek's every movement. The way his thick hair fell over his forehead and how he leaned against that wall, radiating confidence, igniting a flicker of anger inside me. I took a deep breath, steadying myself, feeling the weight of what I was about to do. Hey, Derek, I called out, my voice slicing through the midday chatter. He whipped around, surprise etched across his features. Remember me? His smile faltered, confusion morphing into a mask of feigned indifference. Oh, Clarissa, what's up? His tone so nonchalant, yet laced with disbelief. He hadn't expected me to confront him. I could see Emma's eyes widen, her mouth subtly dropping open. I just thought I could remind you of what you did. I shot back, stepping closer, my pulse racing. You think you can mess with me and get away with it? Just laugh it off. Derek crossed his arms over his stocky chest, the irritation flickering on his face. Look, if you're here to cause a scene. Not causing a scene, I interrupted, my heart thumping louder. I just want you to hear me, hear how your actions hurt me. You wrecked my reputation in front of everyone and you think it was a joke. Emma snorted dismissively, her eyes darting to the students beginning to look our way. Oh, please, Clarissa, you're still going on about that. Get over it. Get over it? I echoed, almost breathless. You don't get it at all. It's not just about the moment. It's about how I felt in the aftermath. I lost friends, lost my place here. You turned everyone against me. Derek laughed, but there was an edge to it, a glimpse of the boy I used to love, now twisted into someone unrecognizable. It was just high school drama. You're acting like this is some life-altering event. He sneered, and my blood boiled at the arrogance. Get some thicker skin. For a moment, my heart ached at the loss of who I thought he was, but then it hardened again. And was it just a joke when you gave everyone a kick of my heart? Did that feel good to you? Because it sure felt horrible to me. The crowd around us was thickening, whispers oscillating through the air like an electric current. I wanted them to see, to understand what kind of person Derek was. I turned my gaze around, catching Sam's eye as he subtly maneuvered through the throng, his plan coming to fruition. Clarissa, come on, Derek urged again, the hint of panic creeping into his voice. You've got to move on. It's embarrassing for you to still be harping on this. I never meant to hurt you that badly. Never meant to? I snapped, feeling my emotions rise like a tidal wave. That sounds a lot like an excuse. Just leave it, Emma cut in sharply. You don't get to play the victim now. You had your chance to be popular. Popular, huh? I laughed bitterly, feeling the heat in my cheeks as I leaned in closer. Look around. It's not popular I'm after. I want my dignity back. I want the truth. Derek's smirk faltered, shades of guilt flashing across his face, but he quickly masked it. You've made your point. You can stop now. Nobody cares anymore. The truth was, I cared. I cared every single day of being ostracized, of being treated like an outsider in my own school. At that moment, clarity surged through me. With one last glance at his self-satisfied face, I spoke louder. letting the words flow with all my pent-up frustration. I am standing up for myself, and I will not let you or anyone else push me around anymore. You think you can waltz through life without consequences? Not anymore. The crowd was staring now, whispers turning into a dull roar. I could almost sense the shift, the tides turning, their eyes shifting between the boy they once idolized and the girl they had written off, watching a showdown between past love and present rage. Sam, I shouted, and he stepped into view just as I had planned. Now, he pulled out a poster board that had been hidden under his shirt, flipping it to reveal the words, Derek Malvo, King of Lies, in bold, bright red letters. Gasps erupted from the audience, and I felt a thrill playing at the edges of my being, a rush of adrenaline, my heart singing with the echo of justice as their faces turned and gasped. Look, everyone, I continued, now almost screaming above the murmur. This is who he really is. He's not a king, he's a coward hiding behind his charm and smirk. Derek's eyes blazed with fury as the realization of what was happening sunk in. You can't be serious. He yelled, doing his best to mask the cracks forming in his bravado. This is ridiculous. You are pathetic. His words barely touch me now. No, deciding to bully someone and then throwing a tantrum when they fight back, that is pathetic. Emma clutched his arm, but he pulled away, showing vulnerability for the first time. The energy around was shifting. The students murmured, sharing skeptical looks that spelled doubt for Derek's image. Let us be honest. I continued, fueled by the momentum I had built up. It's easy to hurt someone and walk away feeling untouchable, but how does that really feel? What happens when you're put on the spot? You won't brush this off like it was nothing because there will be consequences. The crowd grew quieter, and I could sense their intrigue increasing. The air felt heavy with expectation, and my heart raced harder. To everyone who thought it was cool to snicker at my expense, to Derek, to Emma, I'm done. A new chapter is beginning, and I am reclaiming my power. Derek's face contorted with anger as I pierced through his facade. You'll regret this, he spat, his tone threatening. Maybe, but let me remind you that the true regret is letting so much time pass by without standing up for myself. You don't own my fate anymore. With that, I could almost sense a collective shift in the atmosphere, confirmation that the tides were turning against him. Emma's face paled, her charm waning as the laughter shifted towards me, my strength growing by the moment. I could see it in their faces. The whispers were tinged with a new energy. They were waking up, seeing the truth. Revulsion washed over Derek as he turned on his heels, his face a mask of frustration. You'll pay for this, Clarissa. He yelled, storming off with Emma on his tail, leaving behind a path of shocked students. A wave of relief washed over me like I was shedding chains that had held me captive for too long. Sam stepped beside me, and I took a moment to breathe, my heart still racing but now soaring. The thrill coursed through my veins. Did you see that? I exclaimed, barely able to contain my excitement. They weren't laughing anymore. I did, he grinned, pride gleaming in his eyes. You did great, Clarissa. We did. I corrected him, an overwhelming urge to celebrate. The crowd began to disperse, though many still lingered, whispering amongst themselves, curiosity flickering across their faces. I had ventured into a new realm. I stepped into the spotlight that had once felt so foreign to me. As I turned to face Sam, ready to unleash a barrage of excitement, I found myself confronted by Amy, a quiet classmate I had once spoken to only in passing. Wow, Clarissa, she said, her voice steady. That was amazing. Thank you, I breathed, feeling a blush creeping to my cheeks. It felt like I was finally breaking free. I never liked him anyway, she continued, her brown eyes shimmering with earnestness. I always admired you, Clarissa. You deserved better than what he gave you. A warmth invaded my chest. Thank you, that means a lot. I glanced back toward where Derek had stood, the moment starting to settle into memory. The chains that had bound me for so long seemed to evaporate, the sun shining a little brighter, the gusts of wind a touch lighter. I exchanged looks with Sam, a testament of partnership, of having walked this difficult road together. I realized it was not just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming who I was and embracing the fire within. Let's go celebrate, Sam said, tugging at my arm, the lightness in his voice infectious. Yes, I'd love that. I could use a little ice cream right now. As I walked away from the scattered remnants of the turmoil, I glanced back one last time. Apart from the remnants of hurt, I could finally sense a future waiting for me, brimming with possibilities. Maybe I could actually breathe again, maybe I could find new friendships and reclaim my sense of belonging here at Willow Creek Academy. As I stepped away from that chapter of my life, I could feel the weight of the past lifting, eventually ushering in a brand new beginning.